How's it going, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I'm Alan Staley, and this is Slinging Dirt with Staley. Each week, I get a different dirt track driver to join me and take a journey into the minds of racers across the Midwest. On this week's episode, driver of the WW Motorsports, Parton Hardware, number 91 Pure Stock from Jamesport, Missouri, CJ Turner. CJ's been around the auto racing sport his whole life, being born into racing royalty, even earning a name for himself behind the wheel. Turner started competing in the four-cylinder class at the young age of 11, pausing his racing career to focus on school. He then returned a few years back to be among the front of the pack each week, with numerous feature victories at various tracks like I-35, US 36, Bethany, Humboldt, the list goes on and on. This year has been no different for the 91 team. CJ has already claimed 5 feature wins to date, sitting within the top 2 in points at US 36 Raceway and Bethany Speedway, as well as being within an arm's reach of claiming the Northwest Missouri Regional Points Championship. Even with all those accolades, Turner remains grounded and full of life. He's the type of guest I envision for the show. He's funny, he's deep, and just a pure joy to have on. CJ came by the house a couple weeks back after winning the night before to just hang out and talk racing before he would go on to compete later that night. Along the conversation, we hit on some valuable life lessons, what it's like competing against your peers and best friends, his own local Mount Rushmore of racing, if there's any added pressure on race day, and more on an all-new Slinging Dirt with Staley special guest CJ Turner, starting right now.
Well, my dad raced when I was younger, a lot of nights at the racetrack, and when he got out of it, my Uncle Dean raced, and went and watched him a lot. I got into it when I was younger, about 11, and got back out of it and had to get back in it. So.
When you were 11, what were you racing?
Four-cylinder car.
Four-cylinder?
At I-35.
Okay.
School kind of got in the way as I got older, money and all that good stuff.
And why the triumphant return?
Honestly, I got to give it to Cody King.
Yeah.
He bought a race car, and he's right next door to my mom and dad.
Okay.
There was one way too close, and I was going with Buddy all the time to the races anyway, so I had to have my own.
And why the number? Is there any big significance there, the 91?
My grandpa ran the 91.
And so you're just carrying on the tradition.
Yep.
Average race day, let's say US 36 on a Friday night. What's the mindset like on race day? Are you nervous? Are you calm?
I'm usually nervous until I get to the racetrack.
Yeah.
Once I start racing, I'm fine. Sitting on the line before the feature, I get a little jittery and start racing, and I don't really notice it until after I get out of the car.
In that staging area, what's going on in your mind? Can you walk me through the process? Are you thinking about which line you want to run, or is it we're just going to find out?
Yeah, I'm always thinking about which line to run, especially at Osborne.
Yeah.
It can change so much between the heat race and features. Bethany, too. When the track dries off, you don't know if it's where other people have been running, where they're going to lay down rubber on the bottom, or they're going to try to put some rubber up top. You got to get on the track, and you got to make a quick decision in your parade lap.
On that parade lap, are you warming up the tires, looking up in the stands, or is everything focused? This is my task at hand. This is what I have to do right now.
Yeah, pretty much just focus and decide which way you want to go when the green flag drops.
Any fear?
No.
Don't even think about it?
Don't think about it. I've been scared a couple times in a race car, but usually it's right before we turn it over or hit the wall or something.
What has been the scariest moment behind the wheel where you just, you don't question if you still want to do it, but you question that night, let's say?
I haven't, in the pure stock, I haven't had really too many scary nights. The most scared I think I've been would probably be at I-35 when I was in the four-cylinder. I turned it over pretty hard one night.
It was pretty easy to turn over, though.
Yeah, and I think that was the most scared I've probably been.
And did you question your passion, or was it, let's get the car fixed, let's get back in it?
No, I think it gave me more drive. I wanted to get better, and I didn't want that to be what everybody thought about when they thought about me racing a car.
That's a good way to look at it. Again, congratulations on that run last night. When you're out there in front leading like that, what are you thinking about? Can you kind of walk me through the last 5 laps of the race? What's going on in your mind?
Really, it's different every time. When I get out front on a dry track like that, I'm really comfortable. Mm-hmm. But Connor behind me, I'm always thinking he's going to come up, or Mick, or you don't know what kind of pace to set once you get out front. So I'm really just trying to be smooth.
When you say dry and slick and things like that, it's the racing surface. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer the dry, the slick, where it really takes it out of the horsepower and puts it into your hands?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd rather it be drier than heavy.
If you had to pick out one thing in our sport to be negative, what would you say is the biggest negative aspect of the racing world?
social media.
Yeah,
It's a really good thing, and it's also a poor thing. People can say really good things about a racetrack, but people can say horrible things too. So
I'd agree with that. Now let's see the flip side of that coin. What would you say is the most positive aspect of racing?
what I like the most is it's a family deal. I got all my buddies and most of my family come to watch. Like Big Mike and I have been friends for a long time. He loves it. I love it. Most of my buddies come out and support me. So
you're kind of the leader of the Jamesport Mafia now. You've been kind of given that moniker. Why get your friends in it? Because from an outsider, you're just setting up your friends to be your competition.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, you can work together to get faster. You can, and if they outrun you one week, you got to go home and work on your stuff. And you root for your buddy, but when you're racing beside him, you're hoping you inch past him too.
Yeah. Now, competition or camaraderie, when you're out on that track, are they still your friends when the helmet's on, or is it, I've got to beat this driver?
You got to beat him.
Yeah.
But you want to. I treat everybody the same too. You got to respect the other drivers on the racetrack, whether they're your buddy or not. So you got to treat everybody the same.
Where does this mentor mentality come from? Because you've taken a few drivers under your wing over the past season and kind of showed them the ropes and teaching them what to do, what not to do. Not really telling them, hey, do this, but you might try this. Where does that come from?
Well, when I first started, I had two big guys, especially Dad being one of them and Dean being the other one, helped me a lot. And they both tell me where I went wrong or what I did good, and that was part of me getting faster.
Average week during the race season, like last night, you parked the car in Victory Lane. How much time are you going to spend working on that car?
Well, we'll see how tonight goes,
Yeah.
but usually on a good week, you'll probably spend 10, 12 hours a week maybe, and maybe more if you tear stuff up.
Is it just kind of like a couple hours here and there where we're going to fine-tune, kind of go over it?
Yeah, usually I do my best to do something for a couple hours every night.
Now, what about during the off-season? Is it complete, let's tear it down, build it from the ground up, or are we still on the same car?
Yeah, you kind of got to go, when you got that much time, you got to go through the big stuff anyways. You need to go through, make sure everything's still running the way you want it to, and stuff sits through the winter, and you got to replace it.
Where's the motivation come from? Why keep doing this?
Well, basically, we do it because that's what we love to do. You don't make any money at it, and probably won't ever, but you're not going to, you'll find something else to spend your money on, so you can't really look at it that way. If that's what you love to do, you find a way to do it.
I like that. The money's going to get spent regardless. You might as well spend it on something that you love doing.
Absolutely.
Can you walk me through the first night where you picked up the feature win?
The first time I won a feature, there wasn't a lot of thinking behind it. It kind of fell in my lap. It took a while to sink in, and my dad was right behind me too, so we got to enjoy it together.
Yeah, even sweeter. Now you're quite a few wins into your racing career. You've got a lot of wins, let's just go ahead and say that, at many different tracks. Are they all just as sweet as that first one, or do they just kind of blend together?
I'd say they're all just as sweet.
Now on that, what's the worst agony of defeat feeling?
Probably the worst I felt was last year at Osborne. I led the last 2 or 3 laps, and Cletus beat me by a bumper. That was probably the worst one.
What has been, in your mind, the most valuable lesson you've learned behind the wheel? It doesn't even have to pertain to racing. It can be a life lesson. But what's been the one thing that you've learned through racing that sticks with you?
Slower's faster. And the race car, and when you're working on the race car, you got to keep your head about you, and you can't always get out of a bad situation by putting your foot to the floor.
That's some good life philosophy right there. I like that. Preferred line, up top or down low?
Top.
Top. You like the top. Slide job or crossover?
Crossover.
Make them think they have it and just rip their heart out. Are you a music fan? Is there a certain song, track, playlist that just get you in the zone?
Yeah, I'm like old country music.
Okay.
So any Merle Haggard, Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson,
Little Johnny Cash.
Johnny Cash, some of the Highwaymen, any of that will get me in the mood to go race.
Favorite pre-race meal? Is it a big meal or is it just kind of a snacking all day?
It's it's cheese fries at the Jamesport Tavern on Saturday morning.
Very specific.
Every weekend.
Every weekend, it's a ritual. What about a favorite post-race beverage?
Well, when I first started, it would have been a nice cold Bud Light, but usually now it's just water.
Just water. Got to stay hydrated. And what is your dream car?
Early 70s Chevelle.
Chevelle. It's a Chevy. I got to stop this show. Is there tracks that you favor over other ones? Are you a short track versus a long track, high bank versus a short bank, or does it all just come down to how it's set up?
It really comes to track prep, but I've raced, most of my tracks that I've raced on have been 3/8 miles. I've raced on a couple shorter ones, and I've done really well on the shorter ones, but I've done decent on the 3/8 miles too. I've never raced on a big track, so I couldn't say whether I like it or not.
Yeah, no half mile credits to you?
No, but I'd say that the higher bank's probably a little better.
What's the plan moving forward? Are we thinking about moving up a class next year?
Yeah, I've debated. I want to drive a modified just to see if I'd like it or not. But I also really like fender racing, so I'm more than likely being a stock car in the next couple of years. But I don't know, I guess we'll have to see how it goes.
Now, kind of along those lines, is there anything in a car that you haven't done yet that you want to? Is it the modified driving and kind of moving up ranks into the stock car class?
Yeah, I really like the IMSA sanction. Hoping maybe to go to the Nationals one of these years. And
go up to Boone, see how you fare.
See how I compare to those guys. I'd probably be disappointed, but we'll find out.
What about asphalt? Is there any chance of maybe an asphalt course, or if the opportunity strikes, maybe?
Yeah, if the opportunity would strike, I'd probably try it once.
What's it like competing in the class that you're in?
Some nights you've got to be on your toes. You got a lot of good guys driving in that class. Connor, Carson gets in there every now and then. He's always fast, especially in a pure stock. Mick's always fast. You got Cody and Bo.
Yeah.
Cody King and Bo, and it doesn't matter what Cody could have the biggest piece of crap car, and he's going to be smooth. He's going to be fast.
Any chance of a sprint car?
Oh, I don't know. That would be fun. I'd love to try it.
He's over here shaking his head. No chance of a sprint car?
I don't know. I'd love to try it once. Those guys are really fast. It's definitely a different race car. So
what's the appeal of the modified?
You've really got to know how to drive one of those. Once you get used to it, you can separate yourself from the guy that doesn't know what he's doing pretty easy in one of those, I think.
Anybody you want to give a special shout out to and just give them thanks for helping your racing career along the years? Yeah,
I'd like to thank WW Motorsports and Dean Ray, Mom and Dad, my wife Monica, Big Mike, of course, all the track owners and promoters that are trying to give us a place to race every weekend. It's a big deal, so thank you guys. I've
been trying to figure out how to word this the whole way. Is there any added pressure having Dean as an uncle?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
When I'm in a kind of a dry spell and I can't seem to get anything going, I have to go out and talk to him and see what I'm doing wrong, and he'll give me a suggestion usually on what to change or how to help things. And it doesn't necessarily any added pressure for I need to perform. It's necessarily added pressure that when I don't know how to fix what I'm doing wrong, I've got to go ask him how to fix it.
Yeah, that kind of got to swallow your pride and be like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
And the final question of the show, it's kind of the staple of this show. What is your Mount Rushmore of racing? NASCAR, dirt, Formula One, doesn't matter.
It's number one's got to be Dean. Corey, really good driver, fun to watch. My dad, of course, I used to love watching him race.
Final one.
The final one, there's so many to pick from, but I don't know. I've been kind of liking watching Chad Clancy run here lately. He's pretty smooth, so.